Good evening yet again to all my friends and family out there in the YouTube world, all fellow Lafayette College and Lehigh University students and alum, as well as any randos who just happened upon this video. Welcome to my second installment of the Lafayette-Lehigh Rivalry Yuengling month, during which I'm going to try to, as many days as possible, go on discussion and rantings about Lafayette College, Lehigh University, the rivalry between the two, as well as anything else that I might think of. So, and I'm going to be doing that all while drinking, a Yuengling Lager. So I'm going to crack this open now. Cheers. I'm going to try to keep this video a lot shorter than my first one. Yesterday was I think, over 20 minutes, but let's try to speed that up, all right? So yesterday I covered a host of things. I kind of introduced what the series is about, and I talked about some great professors that I had back at Lafayette College, and I knew I was forgetting a few, and I happened to have thought of them over the past day. So in the econ department, I did not give credit to Professor Rosie Bukix, for whom I had financial theory, and it was a great class. Some people at Lafayette College say that it's maybe not the hardest class in the econ department, but the hardest class in which to get an A. And that very well might likely be true. I learned a lot, and I think she was a great professor. She gave great instruction and great assignments. Definitely not the easiest class, though, but definitely loved the class. Who else? I also want to give a shout out. I had mentioned yesterday something about a lecture that we had in our VAST on gambling here and everywhere with Professor Derek Smith in the math department. He had Professor Bob Allen from the psychology department guest lecture, and that lecture was really cool. He talked about how the brain works with incentives and how all that works with gambling, discounting losses, and playing up wins in your head. Very cool stuff. And of course, Bob Allen was also the faculty advisor to the college radio station. He was a really cool guy. I had heard from some of the other people who'd done the radio station that Bob Allen had DJ'd at Studio 54 in New York City, and that he's a pretty legitimate DJ. I think I did get to see him DJ a couple of times at the various dances that the radio station did hold during my time at Lafayette. And one other professor I forgot to mention in the mathematics department was Randy Stonecipher. I had him for operations research as a senior my last semester, I believe. And it was a cool class, cool course material, cool content. He was pretty good about explaining all of it, and he was a pretty interesting guy. So definitely liked his class too. Long and the short of it is, the Lafayette College Math Department and Econ departments are really, really cool, and the faculty are really awesome. Let's see. The only other couple of things that I wanted to discuss today, I wanted to briefly discuss a little bit more about Yuengling that I hadn't mentioned yesterday, and I also wanted to discuss the Lehigh Valley briefly. So just a couple quick things about Yuengling. I might have forgotten to mention yesterday that there are actually two breweries. Sometime in the past, I want to say 10 years, Yuengling decided to open up a factory in Tampa, Florida. And thankfully for that, because me living down here in South Florida these days, I would not have access to this wonderful beer if I didn't have, if there was no Tampa brewery. So Yuengling Lager, Yuengling, thank you very much for opening up in Tampa. You're awesome. As I did mention, it's the oldest brewery. The one in Pottsville, PA is the oldest brewery in America, which is just really, really cool. A lot of history, a lot of story behind it. And the only other thing I wanted to go over regarding Yuengling was the family of Yuengling flavors, the various types of Yuengling. So we have the Yuengling Lager, the traditional amber lager, which I got right here. That's what I'll be drinking this over the next month. Um, what else? There's Yuengling Light Lager, which I had a few times in college. It's pretty good. It's really not bad at all. I don't believe I've had any of the other Yuenglings, but let me just read them off to you real quick. I'm sure they're each unique and delicious in their own way. You have Yuengling Premium Beer that I can't say anything about. You have Yuengling Porter. I've heard good things about that. You have Yuengling Black and Tan. I know a couple people who really like that one. I know my dad likes Black and Tans. I have to ask him if he likes that one. Then there's Lord Chesterfield Ale. Kind of a cool bottle. Never had that either. I'm not a fan of ale, so I don't know if I would particularly like it. And then there's Yuengling Light Beer, which apparently is different than the Yuengling Light Lager. I don't know anything about it. I've never even heard of it until I checked the Yuengling website just a couple hours ago. But either way, it's those are the 7 different varieties of Yuengling. Also interesting to note, and I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, I may have though, but Yuengling was created in 1829, right around the time that Lafayette College was chartered and started class. So there's another connection in addition to just the geography. And then the only other thing that I wanted to talk about today was just some cool stuff about the Lehigh Valley. It's definitely a cool place to be. It was a very cool place to go to school, and I certainly enjoyed it there. The weather was cool. It was nice. The winter was like anywhere else in the area, but I really can't complain about it as far as the weather goes, although being here in South Florida is much, much, much nicer. So, some cool things about the Lehigh Valley. You have the Martin Guitar Factory down in, I believe it's Nazareth, which is a little bit northwest of Easton. Never been there, but one of these next few years when I visit the Lehigh Valley on a vacation, I definitely want to get to the Martin Guitar Factory. I've heard the tours are really great. Martin Guitar, they make probably the best acoustic guitar in the country and maybe even in the world. I'm not a guitar player, but I certainly can appreciate good music, and I can't name off the top of my head which classic rock artists use a Martin guitar, but I know there are at least a handful, and these are probably amongst the best guitarists of all time, and obviously they know good guitars. I know one person personally who owns a Martin guitar, and he has a slew of guitars. He probably has 10 or 15 guitars, but it's definitely, as far as I can tell, it's his favorite acoustic guitar, his Martin. So again, Martin Guitar Factory is in Nazareth, so if you're ever in the Lehigh Valley, stop by the Martin Guitar Factory. Probably will be an amazing time. What else? Right in Easton, we have a couple attractions. We have the Weyerbacher Brewery. I've never been to that brewery. I've had a couple of the different Weyerbacher beer flavors, and it was pretty good. If I remember, they make kind of strong beer, high proof, but pretty tasty, and I think they have somewhat of a variety. I've never been to the factory, the brewery, but I have heard that it's pretty good. They give you free samples and let you taste a bunch of different ones, and I've heard it's very interesting. So there's that. And then one thing that Easton, Pennsylvania is very famous for is the Crayola Crayon Factory. They have a store in the center square or the center circle right down the hill from Lafayette College. The actual factory is not in that square. The square store is really just a retail front for the tourists and whatnot. I've never actually been in that store or to the proper factory, but it's definitely a big tourist attraction and just another cool thing about Easton, Pennsylvania, the town in which Lafayette College is located. Well, that just about covers tonight's topics about which I wanted to discuss. Um, so I'm going to finish the beer and just going to talk about a couple more things real quick, probably about 1.5 more minutes. My next couple of upcoming videos are going to be about the Florida politics as well as politics from other areas of the country, because it's October 23rd and Election Day is just a couple weeks away. So I'll be discussing the Florida governor race, which is Rick Scott, who's a criminal, against Charlie Crist, who's a criminal, uh, also against Adrian Wiley, who I'm strongly supporting. He's the Libertarian Party candidate, and he is definitely a very strong Libertarian, very strong, he's a business person, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can tell, very honest, as opposed to the other two guys who were in the race. Unfortunately, Wiley was excluded from both of the debates, maybe even all three. I'm not even sure how many debates there were, two or three of them, whatever it was. And I'm very proud of Floridians for taking over CNN's thread on Facebook about asking Scott and Chris questions for the debate, and pretty much every question that was asked on there was either directed toward the candidates or toward CNN itself, but it were related to why should Wiley be excluded, or why should you participate if another candidate is being excluded, etc. As I did briefly mention yesterday, my buddy Aaron, who's running for state legislature in state representative in Pennsylvania, I'll briefly touch his race. I'm going to touch a ballot initiative up in New York, Proposition 1 for term limits, and then of course I will come back to Florida and discuss the Attorney General race, Pam Bondi, the Republican, I don't even know who the Democrat is, and then Bill Walsifer, the Libertarian, who I am supporting. And then we have Amendment 1 to the state constitution, Ballot Initiative 1, which deals with redirecting money for waterways and stuff like that. I'll talk briefly about that. And then Amendment 2 on the ballot is dealing with medical marijuana, and I'll address that as well. So on that note, we timed the video perfectly. I have an empty Yuengling bottle here. I hope all you guys enjoyed, and I might not see you all tomorrow or Saturday, but I will definitely be back Sunday if not before. So until then, I'll see you later.